where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the faithful light, beloved his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of the colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please salute the class of 1965. Please look around and notice where the exits are located. Emergency personnel are on duty to assist should the need arise. Please be seated. I declare the 68th Annual Founders Day Convocation open. The program will proceed as printed, beginning with the invocation offered by Minister Tyrell Green of the Office of Spiritual Development and Dialogue.
Let us bow for a few moments for prayer. O Lord, our most sovereign God, we honor and extol your presence with us here on today. We dare not invite or invoke your presence because it is a presence that always was and that always will be. So instead, we acknowledge and admire and appreciate your everlasting spirit on this day. Most of all, we thank you for allowing us to commune with the glory of your being and the power of your majesty. We dedicate our thanksgiving to you, O God. We return thanks for all who have gathered together here in the assembly on this Friday morning. Thank you for the sheer faith that these present have shown you, and thank you even more for the sheer favor that you will return unto them for their diligence in academia. And without shunning gratefulness, O God, we do ask that the spirit of truth rest in our hearts and presides over our actions. May all who gaze upon us realize the spirit that you've shed upon these your chosen few, and how you counted it not robbery to grant it unto us, now and throughout eternity. Allow us to be the beacon of light that shines your spirit with brilliancy, not for the favor of ourselves, but for the fruition of the throne and the good of the kingdom. It is in your ineffable and unutterable name we pray, we believe, and we prepare. All of the hearers of it would say, Amen.
To Chancellor Saunders White, my fellow board members, administrators, students, faculty, guests, my brothers in Kappa Alpha Psi and the Prince Hall Masons, and all alumni gathered here today, good morning. I bring you greetings from the Board of Trustees as we celebrate this special Founders Day 2015, marking the 105th anniversary of our esteemed university. Everyone here for this 68th Founders Day Convocation shares a common bond of love and respect for North Carolina Central University. As the years go by, we increasingly appreciate the ways in which our educational experiences have shaped and improved our lives. This influence is nowhere more evident than on the occasions such as this, as we gather to welcome our newest class of Golden Eagles. From 1910 until today, North Carolina Central University has served the state and the nation by developing and educating some of the most influential and brightest scholars from this region, the state, and the world. Our university in particular serves as an invaluable resource for educating talented scholars, artists, entrepreneurs, scientists, and servant leaders who contribute much to the intellectual and the economic climate of our region and make our communities better places to live, to work, and to play. Eagle Excellence starts with the men and women who have taken up the challenge, first offered by Dr. James Shepard 105 years ago, to study, to debate, to discover, and to expand their horizons here on the sloping hills and the verdant green of NCCU. The university's earliest scholars blazed new trails for generations to come, including many individuals here today. As we salute our Golden Eagles, we also want to thank members of the faculty and the staff who have helped to lead North Carolina Central University through many, many successful years. The longevity and the health of this great institution are the direct result of the vision of our founder, Dr. James E. Shepard. But we are also in debt to the many who since have followed his example and taken up his mandate of truth and service. Dr. Shepard would no doubt be thrilled to see this wonderful gathering here today and to know that his vision has made such a difference in the lives of so many. Welcome to Founders Day 2015.
A vision is not just a picture of what could be. It is an appeal to our better self, a call to become something more. This statement said by Moss Cantor epitomized Dr. Shepard's dream for North Carolina Central University. Our founder, Dr. James E. Shepard, had a vision to create leaders not only at North Carolina Central University, but throughout our communities. He knew that his vision was about more than himself. His passion was to prepare global leaders by spreading knowledge and encouraging academic excellence in each eagle. In truth, each president and chancellor has done a great service by representing our beloved institution and by holding our students to a higher standard. According to Warren Bennis, an American scholar and pioneer in the contemporary field of leadership, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Our chancellor is a prime example of this. Dr. Deborah Saunders White is an inspiration to all of our students. She is confident and fierce. She is supportive, relatable, and encouraging. Over the past 2.5 years, I have watched her transform this campus with a simple vision of Eagle excellence. Under her leadership, she has encouraged alumni and community members to help us reach a near-record fundraising goal of $7.6 million in 2013 to 2014. We welcome more than 1,500 Eagles to campus this year. We've also opened our fabrication laboratory this May, which is a part of a worldwide network of laboratories and innovation centers. Chancellor Saunders White is also a member of the Americans Association of State Colleges and Universities Policy Committee and serves as state representatives for North Carolina. Our chancellor believes that higher education is a powerful economic tool. Prior to coming to our institution, our chancellor served as acting assistant secretary for the Office of Post-Secondary Education at the U.S. Department of Education, having been appointed by President Barack Obama. She is also very active in her beloved sorority of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Each day, I am inspired by her walk. I'm also inspired by her perseverance, drive, and dedication. What we love most about our dear chancellor is her avid push for excellence and her support of our students. We know she believes in us, we can tell, and I hope you can too, that her mission is student success. It is equally an honor and a pleasure to introduce North Carolina Central University's 11th Chancellor, Dr. Deborah Saunders White.
Thank you, Courtney, for that very nice introduction. Well, good Eagle morning, everyone. Welcome to our 68th Annual Founders Day Convocation. This morning, we pause to celebrate our visionary leader, Dr. James Edward Shepard, who established on July 10th, 1910, this revered institution that we now call North Carolina Central University. This higher education academy has grown to become one of our nation's most distinguished, first choice, premier, and global institution. Today, we continue to define our next 105 years with the kind of game-changing innovation that led Dr. Shepard to begin the National Religious Training School and Chautauqua for the colored race. July 10th, 2015 marked a significant milestone for North Carolina Central University as we entered our 105th year of serving as a hub for intellectual dialogue and discourse, and a source of academic distinction for North Carolina, this region, the nation, and yes, the world. As we move forward into the years, decades, and centuries to come, we must continue to celebrate our distinctiveness and proudly showcase our achievements and those accomplished alumni who were nurtured on these sloping hills and verdant green. Today, we lead the way, building on a solid 105-year-old legacy of truth and service, one that is synonymous with excellence, innovation, integrity, and quality. In November 1939, Dr. Shepard said, "North Carolina has banked on this black man. If he fails the state, let it be said of him that he fell beneath the weight of his own demerits and not by the tyranny of a stronger people." Through Dr. Shepard's fortitude and foresight, access to higher education has been afforded to countless scholars, many men and women who would otherwise not have had the opportunity to obtain a higher education credential. He proved that race was no limitation in one's quest towards excelling. In 3 short days, on November 3rd, 2015, we will mark the 140th birthday of our late founder. Today, we pay homage to a man who could lose with dignity and win with humility. 2 other significant milestones are being celebrated by our university this year. In 1925, the Shepard House, which served as the home for Dr. Shepard and his family, was completed. And in 1925, North Carolina Central University became the nation's first liberal arts, state-supported, 4-year institution for African Americans. Nearly 90 years later, the Shepard House continues to stand as a monument and a reminder of our rich history. And of course, North Carolina Central University is more vital and viable than ever as an institution that provides strong training and good, solid talent for the scholars in humanities as well as in the STEM fields. North Carolina Central University is still thriving. At this time, I would like to recognize our leadership and friends in attendance. As I call your names or the groups that you are associated with, would you please stand? And audience, would you indulge us and hold your applause until they all have been recognized. The platform party, to include our vice chancellors, deans, and other university leaders, would you please stand? Student leaders, student government, who serve our university so tirelessly. Members of the North Carolina Central University Board of Trustees. I know I have plenty of current board members. Would you please stand? Now I would ask all former board members to please stand. Current and former members of the North Carolina Board of Governors, would you please stand if you're in attendance? Members of the North Carolina Central University Foundation Board, would you please stand? Members of the Association of North Carolina Central University Retired Personnel, would you stand? I also would like to extend a fond welcome to all elected officials. Would you please stand so we can salute you for your service? Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting these distinguished members of our community. Other special guests today include the following, and again, if you would hold your applause, but please stand. Members of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of North Carolina and jurisdiction, would you stand? Members of the Order of Eastern Star. Members of the fraternity of our founder, Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated. Please join me in saluting these special guests. Now, it is indeed an honor and a privilege for me to welcome the descendants of Dr. James Edward Shepard. So first, let me acknowledge Ms. Carolyn Smith Green, class of 1951. Ms. Green is the granddaughter of Dr. and Mrs. Shepard. And this morning, as she is always seen, being a wonderful caregiver to her mother, we have Carolyn Green Boone. And Carolyn is the great-granddaughter of Dr. and Mrs. Shepard. So we are so delighted that they are here with us this morning. And if you would indulge me a moment of personal privilege, I don't get to do this often. He promised me when I was waking him up this morning that he was going to join me this morning. So I have my son here, Cecil White III. So Cecil, if you're here, would you please stand? And if you're not, you're in trouble. Okay. You know what that means. Moms know what I'm talking about. We stand here decades later, honoring the platform of our founder, Dr. James E. Shepard's guidepost of truth and service. You, our alumni, are great examples of just how high North Carolina Central University Eagles have flown and continue to soar. As the gateway to opportunity, we serve as a place where we educate eager young scholars to realize their potential and fulfill their dreams of becoming entrepreneurs, researchers, attorneys, judges, educators, and social scientists. And we help others to further their goals of advancing in their chosen profession. For many years, our institution has been a center for academic advancement and social change. Even during an era when obstacles abounded and racial inequality and oppression made it challenging to enjoy the same liberties and freedom of other Americans. You, our golden eagles, stood up and fought for change. Your collective actions fueled a very powerful movement. We salute and applaud the sacrifices you made so that generations that followed you would be provided opportunities that you did not have. And today, we indeed celebrate you, our golden eagles, North Carolina Central University's trailblazers. You gave back to your communities, and you have supported this institution in a major way. I want to share with you this morning that as you are inducted into the Society of Golden Eagles, your university will present you with a pin. And that pin not only celebrates your 50 years of being an Eagle, but it also celebrates the fact that you have earned that 50-year achievement on the occasion of our 105th anniversary. As Dr. Shepard said so eloquently, education is not a philanthropy. It is instead the basis of our great democracy. Alumni, you came to this institution seeking an education that would cultivate your intellectual curiosity. You have since contributed your talents and service to enrich communities throughout this nation, and yes, around the world. Students are here up above. As you are furthering your education, know that the men and women who sit on this floor before you have generously paved the way for your future success. Commit yourself to soaring as only eagles do, while never forgetting to reach back, look around, and reach to help your fellow man.
Judge A. Leon Stanback Jr. was born and raised in Hillsborough, North Carolina. He attended A.L. Stanback Middle School, named in his father's honor. He also attended Central High School in Hillsborough, graduating in 1961. Stanback graduated from North Carolina College, now NCCU, in 1965, with a Bachelor's of Science degree in chemistry. While at NCCU, he was a member of the Eagles' nationally famous marching band. While a member of the band, he performed at halftime shows for the Washington Redskins and the Baltimore Colts. Following graduation, he enrolled in the North Carolina Central School of Law and received his Juris Doctorate degree in 1968. Later that same year, after being one of only 3 successful black candidates to pass the North Carolina State Bar, he was admitted to practice law in the state. The Honorable Henry Fry, a former law professor at the North Carolina Central School of Law, hired Stanback to join his firm, Fry & Johnson, in Greensboro. Stanback was subsequently named Assistant District Attorney for Guilford County in 1972. While in Guilford County, he became the first black assistant prosecutor. He later formed a separate firm, Stanback & Stanback, with his sister Pamela. In 1985, Judge Stanback was named to the North Carolina Parole Board. He served there until he was appointed to the Superior Court bench for the state of North Carolina in 1989. He retired as a Superior Court judge after serving in that position for 21 years. In 1998, Judge Stanback was voted Outstanding Trial Judge in the state of North Carolina by the North Carolina Advocates for Justice. He was also named one of the 500 best judges in America by Law Dragon magazine. After retiring as a Superior Court judge, Stanback was called out of retirement by Governor Beverly Perdue in February 2012 to become the acting district attorney for the 14th Judicial District of North Carolina. Judge Stanback served until retiring from that position in August 2014. Over the years, Judge Stanback has accumulated numerous awards and recognitions for his services, including Omega Man of the Year for 1998 from the Beta Phi chapter of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, the Man of the Year Community Service Award from the North Carolina Western Conference of the AME Church, an Outstanding Service Award from the North Carolina Central School of Law. He was also honored by the Durham Committee on Black Affairs for his community service at the 2015 annual banquet. He is currently married to Michelle Floyd Stanback, and they have 3 daughters together. Now let's stand to our feet and welcome back Judge A. Leon Stanback back home to Eagle Land as an upcoming Golden Eagle.
I have to kiss all the pretty girls. Thank you very much, and I'd like to say it is indeed an honor to address this august body with so many distinguished persons here. I want to recognize, first of all, my family, without whom I could not accomplish anything. Where are they? Up there? Okay. And my special guests, whoever they are, I told so many people to tell them that they were my special guests, I forgot who it was. But I'm just joking. I see them sitting up there too. But if you all will repeat after me, and you know what's coming. The eagle is no ordinary barnyard foul. Very good. Dr. Edmonds used to tell us that every homecoming and at every bonfire meeting that we had while we were in school. I also want to ask all of the ladies who were students here at Central during the 1961-65 year to stand. Please, all of you ladies who were here during that time. And I say that because I asked you to stand because, you know, when I finished high school, I wanted to go to another university. And so I told my daddy, I said, look, I want to go to this other university. He said, well, I'll tell you what, realizing how much it was going to cost him, he said, well, why don't you go to Central for 1 year? And then you can transfer when you decide what you want to be and what you want to, what path you want to take. Then you can transfer. Well, I came over here and I saw all these pretty girls. And that's the end of that story. So I stayed here until they made me leave when I finished law school. You all may have a seat. Thank you. When I finished law school, I said, boy, you got to go to work. So, but this is Founders Day, dedicated to the founders, and I'm so happy to see Ms. Green and the great-granddaughter of Dr. Shepard sitting out here supporting us once again, as they always do. And it is indeed a pleasure to be here. Now, Dr. Shepard founded North Carolina College for Negroes in Durham in 1910. He was born and raised along with 11 other siblings in Raleigh. His father was Reverend Augustus Shepard, and his mother was Mrs. Harriet E. Shepard. Dr. Shepard received his education through the North Carolina public school system, and after graduating from Shaw University, he worked as a pharmacist for a short time and later received his Ph.D., which is a graduate pharmacist degree, in 1894. He married Annie Day Robinson in 1895, and the couple had 2 children. In 1898, Dr. Shepard, along with John Merritt, established North Carolina Mutual Insurance Company in Durham. Eventually, he founded Mechanics and Farmers Bank in Durham as well. A lifelong Republican, Shepard worked briefly from 1899 to 1900 in the Recorder of Deeds office in Washington, D.C. as a federal appointee of President William McKinley. He was later an advisor to President Theodore Roosevelt and supported President Herbert Hoover's controversial nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court, Judge John J. Parker of Charlotte. He continued to advise prominent Republicans until his death. By 1910, Shepard was one of the wealthiest and most successful African-American businessmen in the United States. He believed deeply in education and lamented the fact that a relatively small number of colleges for African Americans existed in his state. When he received a section of land on the edge of Durham, Shepard created the National Religious Training School. The school served as an institution for the colored race and initially held classes for ministers and teachers. 5 years after it opened, Shepard sold the institution to Mrs. Russell Sage, a New York philanthropist. She in turn provided support to keep it functioning for the next decade. In 1923, the state of North Carolina assumed control of the institution and 2 years later renamed it the North Carolina College for Negroes. Unlike North Carolina Agricultural and Technical College in Greensboro, NCCN focused on teacher education. Over time, the college developed into a liberal arts institution. In fact, NCCU was the first predominantly African-American college in the United States to receive the state support for a liberal arts education. By 1940, we had a law school, and North Carolina College for Negroes eventually evolved into North Carolina College in 1969. In 1969, it also became North Carolina Central University at Durham. Dr. Shepard was also involved in other organizations, including North Carolina Teachers Association, and he served as a trustee of the all-black Lincoln Hospital in Durham. He remained president of the institution until he died from complications after suffering a stroke on October 6, 1947. Now let's fast forward to September 1961, a date you all you Golden Eagles will remember. We arrived at NCCU at that time. During that time, the Vietnam War was escalating. The space race was in full swing. The bravery of those who marched to Selma led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act. Eisenhower was ending his presidency. John F. Kennedy was inaugurated as the new president, and the Supreme signed with Motown. Floyd Patterson knocked out Ingemar Johansson to win the heavyweight championship, and black demonstrators in Charleston staged ride-ins on streetcars. The 23rd Amendment to the Constitution was ratified, allowing Washington, D.C. residents to vote in presidential elections. And after a 4.5-year trial, Nelson Mandela is acquitted on treason charges. During that year, Ray Charles won the Grammy Award for the theme from A Summer Place. 1,400 Cuban exiles land in the Bay of Pigs in a doomed attempt to overthrow Castro. The Pulitzer Prize was awarded to Harper Lee for her novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, and Alan Shepard becomes the first American in space. Whitley Young was named that year as executive director of the National Urban League. JFK sent 18,000 military advisors to South Vietnam, and Ernie Davis became the first American to win football's Heisman Trophy. We began our freshman year at NCCU then. The female contraceptive pill becomes available on the National Health Service in Britain. Now, during this time, I don't know what's funny about that. But during this time, the world was becoming more complex for Americans on the domestic and international fronts. We as freshmen were caught up in the changes that were beginning to transform life for us all. We were meeting new people who would help shape our lives forever. For most of us, this was the first time in our lives when we were on our own to make our own life decisions. We were fortunate in having secondary school teachers who had graduate degrees from some of the best colleges and universities in the nation. They treated us as if we were their own children and took a personal interest in seeing that we became the best persons that we could become. Most of us had attended segregated secondary schools. Only a few of the graduating minority students of 1961 enrolled into non-HBCU institutions. Our class represented the very best black students in the nation, with most being valedictorians and salutatorians of their classes. Our class was among the last to matriculate through the segregated education system before integration began to impact the education of black students. Because of the segregated education system, we had no identity crisis. We knew who we were because our teachers focused all their energy to prepare us to succeed and achieve in a system designed to limit our opportunity to participate and contribute to mainstream society. We were taught to prepare ourselves to fight through the barriers built to deter our progress. We were the warriors of change in a system that has and continues to be unjust in its treatment of African Americans. Because of the uniqueness of the academic qualities of our class, Dr. Alfonso Elder, NCCU's president at the time, envisioned a project that involved the creation of an honors program within our freshman class. The program involved taking the top 50 scores on the English placement test and splitting them into groups. One was called the honors group and the other was called the control group. There was a third group composed of other students, and placement of students in either of these evenly matched groups was due to the draw. The idea was to see if the addition of an additional class would make a difference in either group's performance. This experiment was implemented by Dr. Cecil Patterson, and this program continues at North Carolina Central today. Our lives between the sloping hills and verdant greens were filled with memorable experiences. I can remember getting up and practicing with the marching band at 5 a.m. in the morning to get ready for our performances and traveling to Washington, D.C. to perform at halftime for a Washington Redskins game, and to Baltimore, Maryland to perform at halftime for the then Baltimore Colts. Our band directors wanted us to make sure we did one thing well, and that's not to look like A&T. Our marching band was a precision marching machine and was known nationally for our performances. We thoroughly enjoyed those trips away from campus, and the code phrase for reporting what happened during those trips was, "A good time was had by all." I see you all remember that. And no more. But word of the shenanigans that took place on those trips seemed to always trickle back to campus. And that's all I'm going to say about that. We were blessed with outstanding athletes during those years. NCCU football was at its height during the 61 through 65 seasons. We had the coach with the most wins in NCCU history, Herman Riddick. The team won 2 CIAA championships, went undefeated in 61, and beat arch rival A&T 3 times. In 2004, our 1961 and 63 teams were both inducted into the NCCU Hall of Fame. In 1963, we experienced a goal line stand versus Morgan that included a game-saving tackle at the goal line by Billy Hayes. Ironically, Billy Hayes went on to become the most successful coach in NCAA's history. During those years, we had some terrific games with Morgan State, Maryland Eastern Shore, and of course, A&T. All of the aforementioned teams had outstanding players who eventually went on to Hall of Fame NFL careers. Willie Lanier of Morgan, Kansas City Chiefs, Leroy Kelly of Morgan, Cleveland Browns, Art Shell of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Oakland Raiders, Elvin Bethea A&T, Houston Oilers. Despite all these talented players, NCCU football players were the kings of the hill. Some of the individual honors registered by the team were 1961 Charles Hinton, Bobo Hinton, Pittsburgh Courier All-American, All-CIAA, Richard Wilkins, Pittsburgh Courier All-American, All-CIAA, 1962 William Bill Hayes, Pittsburgh Courier All-American, 1963, Robert Pedro Carrington, Pittsburgh Courier All-American, All-CIAA. 1964, William Bill Hayes again, Pittsburgh Courier All-American. Now, during these years, we had several of our players who were drafted into the NFL. Chuck Hinton was taken in the second round in 1962 by the Cleveland Browns. Frank Gardner was taken in the 13th round by the Cleveland Browns that year. Vernon Hatch in the 15th round by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in 1963, Bob McAdams was taken in the 17th round for the New York Jets. Robert Pedro Carrington was taken in the 8th round for Pittsburgh Steelers. And Aaron Pete Martin was undrafted, but played for the Los Angeles Rams, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington Redskins from 1964 through 1968. I'm sure you remember some of the characters on the team at that time. Elmer Fat Cootie, Macmillan, Richard Tiny Sly, Bobby Mormon, James Price, Robert Cripp Evans, and William Bill Dorsey, to name a few. Of course, it seemed that they all majored in rheology. See, this is special for our class because well, never mind. But anyway, but they reserved a few seats on the rail for those of us who, like myself, wondered where NCCU found all those pretty girls. Herman Riddick, Coach Steve and Quiet, and Coach Young were our football coaches. Those were some great times. The team was unable to reminisce and get together in 2013 homecoming and honor the fallen Eagles for the 50th year anniversary of the 1963 team. The Durham Herald-Sun ran a front page article entitled Memories with Cleats to commemorate that reunion. Now, our basketball memories are not quite as outstanding. But there was one basketball event that took place in 1961 or 62 when the then mayor of Durham, Emmanuel Evans, gave Sam Jones the key to the city. Sam brought along 7 of his Celtic teammates and played an exhibition game in Durham on campus against present and past CIAA All-Stars. Among the Celtic greats he brought back with him were Bill Russell, Casey Jones, John Havlicek, and Satch Saunders. The CIAA All-Stars had Curly Neal, Marvin Troutman, and Cleo Hill. The game was exciting early on, but the Celtics eventually blew out the All-Stars. In tennis, we did exceptionally well. We were outstanding in the CIAA, and we were CIAA champions from 1961 through 1963. Joe Williams Michael Holt and George Logan were several of our outstanding tennis players. We lost the CIAA championship in 1964 by 1 point, and that's because Joe Williams had to get an operation and couldn't play. Our track and field teams, coached by internationally known track coach, U.S. Olympic track coach, head of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and NCCU Chancellor, Dr. Leroy Walker, were outstanding. They made significant contributions to our university and to the world of sports. The members of the class of 1965 on the track team were Evan Frazier, James Newton, Terry Amos, Robert Johnson, Norman Tate, Jerry Hall, Leonard Moore, and Andrew McCrae. That team gave Dr. Walker a number first in his illustrious career. They gave him his first CIAA championship in 1964, and they repeated that feat in 1965. They gave him his first pin relay championship of America in the 4x100 and 4x220 relays in 1964. That team was ranked nationally and globally and was led by All-Americans Norman Tate, Edwin Roberts, and Andrew McCrae. The team of Andrew McCrae, Norman Tate, Robert Johnson, Edwin Roberts set a world record in the sprint medley relay at Madison Square Garden in 1964. In April of 2015, 50 years after their feat, the record-breaking team in the 4x220 relay of Robert Johnson, Terrell Amos, Norman Tate, and Edwin Roberts was inducted into the pin relay Wall of Fame. Remarkably, they were all present to receive that honor. The years following our freshman year were challenged with civil rights protests and demonstrations in Durham. We were exposed to many high-profile leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Floyd McKissick, and Dick Gregory, who visited our campus and discussed strategies for promoting racial change in the nation. Like most other businesses and institutions in the South, from the birth of the nation up until the mid-1960s, Durham's Carolina Theater was formerly operated under a strict policy and practice of racial segregation, either not admitting patrons of known African ancestry or only providing admission or service to them through separate second-class facilities. There were about a half dozen movie theaters in Durham when direct action to integrate the Carolina Theater and the Center Theater began in 1961. Several of the theaters did not admit black people at all, whereas the Carolina had admitted blacks to a segregated second-class balcony since the theater opened in 1923. Black patrons were admitted to the theater through a separate entrance on the side of the building and had to climb several flights of stairs, 97 stairs to be exactly, to reach their seats in the colored balcony. On July 20th, 1961, the same day John F. Kennedy was being inaugurated as President of the United States, demonstrations against segregation began at the Carolina and Center Theaters in Durham. Demonstrators from local black high schools and colleges, including North Carolina College, marched peacefully in front of the theaters, carrying signs protesting the theater's segregation. A few white students from Duke and UNC also participated in the demonstrations, which were being carried out by pickets in shifts. The students were committed to nonviolent protest and were prepared to continue the protest until the theaters were willing to admit anyone to any seats in the house. About a week after the protest began, the Center Theater closed its balcony altogether and refused to admit black moviegoers at all. Picketing of the theaters continued throughout 1961. In March of 1962, the Carolina management rejected a proposal from the local NAACP chapter to negotiate its desegregation, and then refused the city council's request that it consider the decision, that it reconsider the decision. Thereupon, protesters began round-robin demonstrations in which demonstrators lined up at the box office and one after another asked for tickets. They were refused. When they were refused, they went to the back of the line and started all over again. Several of our classmates were involved in these demonstrations. In May of 1963, Mayor Gabourek, a native of Pennsylvania, was sworn into office as Durham's new mayor during a period of turbulent unrest due to civil rights demonstrations taking place in the city. At one of those demonstrations, a few days before Gabourek was sworn in as mayor, more than 700 people were arrested, protesting segregation at a Howard Johnson restaurant on the Chapel Hill Boulevard. Our classmates were also involved in this protest. Raise your hand if you were there. The Carolina Theater began operating on a non-segregated basis in July of 1963, well before many other public facilities in the South, many of which did not desegregate until the passage of a civil rights law in 1964 that banned discrimination on the basis of race in public accommodations throughout the country. The demonstrations in Durham had been carefully planned by students under the leadership of Attorney Floyd McKissick, who later became national leader of the Congress on Racial Equality, CORE. And students from many local public and private schools played key roles in the marches, demonstrations, and negotiations that led to the integration of the Carolina Theater and other public accommodations in Durham. Many adults in the community for whom the risk of economic retaliation and other recriminations was substantial supported them. The students participating in the demonstrations came principally from North Carolina Central, Hillside High School, Merrick-Moore High School, Duke University, Durham Business College, the Shaders Beauty College, and Bull City Barber College. Protests and demonstrations by students at all of the HBCUs in North Carolina and around the nation forced a change in many of the nation's racially discriminatory laws. NCCU and its students were instrumental in forcing changes in laws in Durham and North Carolina. We should all be proud of being a part of this time and the ensuing events. The lives of many of our classmates are testaments to the intellect and character of the members of the class of 1965. It is indeed a privilege and an honor to be a member of this Golden Eagle class. Thank you very much.
The Honorable A. Leon Stanback, Jr. Let's give him another round of applause. As a Golden Eagle, you have reminded us today of the rich legacy of historically black colleges and universities, particularly North Carolina Central University. So, Judge Stanback, we want to present you with a very small token of our appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a job well done.
Catherine Phillips Butler. Doris Johnson Morell. Linda Kennedy Buville. Joseph Williams, Jr. Mae Jackson Williams. Marion Shiver Ashford. Sarah Carpenter Hicks. Helen L. Chavis. Edward Irving. Edward Dupree. Olivia Garner Gilmore. Howard H. Fost, Jr. Sandra Larkins Williams. Joanne Hunter Wilson. Barbara Harris. Flora J. Faison. Pearl Magnum Smith. Claudine Day Lewis. Laura Brooks Smith. Honorable Maddie R. Sharpless. Valeria Haskins Wilson. Annie Watson Love. Lily McNeil Boyd. Leon C. Boyd. Mary C. Williams Watkins. Gutiana Horton. DeGrassenreed. Joyce Key Smith. Peggy Foreman Johnson. Sandra Sue Toxler Johnson. Willie E. Cooper. Nettie Cheston Williams. Alan J. Williams Sr. Barbara Lewis Sellers, Carolyn Brooks Powell, Zula Farrar Tony, Neltine Patterson, Evelyn Battle Riddick, Velma Ballard Andrews, Regina M. Budd, Brenda M. Fraunberger, Faye Robinson Smith, Mildred Garrett McDade Lamar, Barbara Smith Johnson, May Ruth Maynor, Roland C. Gaddy, Althea Little Wills, Ethel Tate Leach, George D. Leach, Gwendolyn White Hoover, Terrell Amos, Mary Spivey Williamson, Leonard Moore, Lizzie Johnson Harrell, Samson E. Harrell, Ara Alexine Miller, Norman H. Grandy, Verily Albrecht Gather, Winifred Richards Davis, Rogers Davis, Agnes Banks Smith, Clark Scales, Adelaide Cobb Reddick, Gwendolyn F. Ricks, Daniel H. Parker, Roderick A. Alston, Harold Chapman, Robert L. McNair, Irby David Logan, Drew H. Brown, Brenda Randolph, Marlu Fushi Pippin, Bonnie Broadway Smith, Richard M. Mizell, Linward C. Hood, Nathaniel Curry, James M. Williams, Herbert L. Watkins, Louise Butler, sorry about that, Francis Privet Robinson, Betty Hayes Ellis, Bobby Gibbs, Floyd Benjamin, Carolyn P. Hayes, William L. Hayes, Ginger Merritt Williams, Burnett Bell Smith. Hilda Worthington Lee. Nathalie Davis Williamson. Ruth E. Franks. Thomas C. Harden. Jamesina Grimes Moore. Diane Caraway Hall. Jerry H. Hall. Jerome H. Fitch. Gwendolyn Sellers Parker. Milton E. Parker. Robert M. Johnson. Herbert Johnson. Willie Leathers. Morris W. Johnson. Fulton D. Hayes. Thelma Gray January. Helen Roberts Dupree. Honorable Mary Ward Pendle Conaway. Clara Bowling Guess. Phyllis Leary Snipes. Anita Guess Alston. Earl Jenkins Bobo. George E. Clayette. And on behalf of my mother, Ernestine Osler.
We pause in solemn tribute to the founder of this university, Dr. James Edward Shepard, who asked to be remembered through the university's surroundings and by the youth who leave these portals. It is in his memory that we pledge to live up to the motto he provided to us. It is his memory that undergirds our continued search for truth and our determination to serve. Let all assembled here today strive with a greater sense of responsibility to be better guardians of the legacy of our founder. In the spirit of Dr. James Edward Shepard, I light the torch of truth and service.
Chancellor, the student body accepts with renewed appreciation the spirit of our founder and the ideals for which the university stands. Truth and service must guide us while we are here and after we leave to start careers or to pursue further education. Our beginning has been here. Our roots will remain here. Chancellor, you have kept the flame alive so that we might become heirs to the rich legacy that is symbolized by this torch. Now, in memory of our founder, I offer a solemn pledge on behalf of the student body to dedicate our lives to continuing the fulfillment of his dream. I light this candle from your torch of truth and service as a symbol of continuity.
Madam Chancellor, it is the firm belief of NCCU alumni that we honor the spirit of the founder to the extent that we remain faithful to the search for truth and the willingness to serve. We, the alumni, view this truth and service ceremony as a symbol of the rededication of our lives to the ideas of the founder. As one generation of alumni passes the torch to another, we shall continue in the noble traditions of this institution. Madam Chancellor, NCCU alumni recommit ourselves to the ideas of our alma mater, which consecrate us to service. As you represent the link between the founder and his graduates, I light this candle from your torch of truth and service as a symbol of continuity.
May the spirit of unity continue to guide us. We are grateful that beyond the Chancellor, the alumni, and the student body, there stands a supportive community, ever appreciative that Dr. James Edward Shepard cast his lot here and left the great legacy of his work that resonates throughout the city of Durham and beyond. Dr. Shepard founded a university that is proud of its past and committed to a bright future centered on the values of truth and service. Before we sing the alma mater and conclude our services, I just want to take a moment and recognize some students who are working awfully hard this morning, and I think they deserve our gratitude. So the students from the Department of Nursing who are here to assist us, would you please stand so we can show you our love and affection? Thank you so much. Now we've come to the part of the program that I love the most, and that's the singing of our alma mater. Now, I would ask you to remain standing after we sing so we can have the Retreat of the Colors and the Legacy Walk through the Shepherd's Circle for the wreath-laying ceremony, beginning with the platform guest, then the Shepherd family, and the Golden Eagles. Thank you so very much.